What's going on, everyone? This is Carl for carlfernandez.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at my wish list for the Canon C100 Mark III. So there is no official news from Canon about a C100 Mark III. There haven't really been any rumors spreading around about this camera. As of right now, to all of us, it doesn't even exist. But if we look at Canon's timeline, they announced the C100 Mark I in 2012. The C100 Mark II was announced in Q4 of 2014, released Q1 of 2015. So the camera is just a little over a year old. So we could possibly expect an announcement at the end of this year, with deliveries happening in Q1 of 2017. With NAB around the corner, Canon could pull a fast one and release the C100 Mark III there, along with their 8K prototype camera, which is being touted as the C500 Mark II. So my expectations for the C100 Mark III are as follows. You take the XC10 and the C300 Mark II, you make them and there you go, C100 Mark III. So what would I like to see? First and foremost, 4K, Canon, it has to happen. There's no dancing around it this time. You gotta give us 4K in this camera, or you will lose a lot of your customers, including me. It needs to have 4K. And I think they should take the codec that they use in the XC10 and give it to us in the C100 Mark III. It could be UHD or DCI 4K. At this point, I don't really have a preference. Just give us 4K. And so I would personally love to see that in the C100 series. Next up is full HD. I would really like to see 10-bit 422 internal 1080p. That may not happen. The XC10 didn't even have 10-bit, but it did do 422. So it would be cool if 4K and 1080 did 422. I'd accept if one of them did it. I really hope they would do both, but I doubt it. I mean, the FS5 from Sony already does that. So Canon, I think it's time to up the game and give us a perfectly clean, very gradable HD image. We need slow motion, and by slow motion, I mean 120 frames a second slow motion. 1080-60, that's 2011 technology. I mean, Sony's had that on their NEX cameras, I believe, or one of their cameras back then, 1080-60. The Panasonic GH3 had 1080 at 60, and that was released years ago. I mean, come on, Canon. At this point, you can beat Sony by giving us a full, nice, clean 120 with no cropping. 4K 60 would be nice. Very doubtful on that one. I really don't think they're going to give us 4K 60p, but it's wishful thinking. But at this point, 1080 120, it's kind of a no-brainer. You got to give it to us. If it's one thing Canon has against all other companies, it's dual pixel autofocus. It's a really good feature, and they need to highlight that more. I know they are now. 1DX Mark II, Canon 80D, C100 Mark II had it, but now this time they're allowing all EF lenses for face detection and all that good stuff. So as opposed to just using the STM lenses, which are usually the kit lenses, and they aren't that good. So it's gonna be cool to use some L glass with the dual pixel autofocus. Okay, next feature. This would be borrowing from the C300, so again, I doubt that they would put this in, but it would be nice. Electronic variable NDs, and it would be nice to have more stops. The stops that we have were good. It would be great to include one more stop so that we could shoot with really fast prime lenses in the daytime without having to stack on another 2-stop ND in the front of the lens. But the internal NDs are great as they are, but again, with a Mark III model, we are expecting bigger and better features. Now, we all know the C100 Mark I had really good ISO performance. C100 Mark II, with its new processor, made it even cleaner. With the A7S out, 2 generations of the A7S, as well as Canon's low light 4 million ISO camera, I keep forgetting the name. It would be cool to take some of that tech and bring it over to this camera, if we could push this up to around 100,000, maybe even more, as the maximum value. Obviously, it's not gonna be clean at that point, but it would be nice to get a usable 25,000, like a really usable, somewhat clean 25,000. It would be nice to have a really good low light feature in this camera. One that may piss off a lot of people, one that may make other people rejoice. I would like to see it personally. I highly doubt they will put it in, is a touchscreen. It works amazing on the 70D, and I haven't tried the 80D, but I'm sure, with a dual pixel autofocus, that's sort of like the control for that. I mean, touching the screen and selecting your focus point, that's a lot better and easier, especially with video. It's not a deal breaker for me. I won't really care too much if there's no touchscreen. I could live without it, but I think it would be a great feature to include along with the dual pixel autofocus. While we're talking about screens, let's talk about resolution. Now, we all know the C100 Mark I viewfinder is a joke. They upgraded it with the C100 Mark II, giving us a C300 viewfinder. But let's pump up the resolution and brightness. The OLED screen's great. Let's see if we can make a better version, because I'm not a big fan of the monitors on these cameras. They're either too green or too low resolution. But it would be cool if they kind of worked in some improvement in that area. One physical feature that I'd like to see in the C100 Mark III are light up buttons. That was a genius feature that they implemented into the C300 Mark II. I don't think that's going to cannibalize sales if you ported that over to C100 Mark III, so please Canon, do that. It's very useful when shooting in the dark, so I like that. The light up buttons on the sides are great, so that would be a nice feature to include. C-Log 2, that's featured on the C300 Mark II. I've never played with any footage using C-Log 2, so I'm not really sure how flat it is compared to C-Log, but it's gotta be somewhat flatter. Again, I think Canon will be doing that. I don't think they're gonna leave us hanging with just C-Log. So that basically wraps up all the features that I'd like to see. The last thing I'd say is the price. So, I mean, with the C100 Mark III, I definitely see Canon pricing this around the same, $5,500 to $6,500. It would be nice to keep it obviously at $5,500 or even lower to compete now, because they have the Blackmagic Ursa Mini that they gotta compete with. The FS5 is out there. Red Raven is $6,000 for the body. So we have a couple choices here that shoot at 4K or higher. So Canon, please price it competitively. Don't charge all out. I think $6,500 would be way too much, especially since this should have been a camera that came out 2 years ago. So some features that I'd like to see in the C100 Mark III that aren't deal breakers, may actually not happen, but it would be cool to have. 240 frames a second at 720p would be awesome to have. And for my own sake, a dedicated black balance button, the ABB, the auto black balance button. I have that as an assignable button on my C100, but it would be cool if they actually had just a button for it, so I could just press that. Canon does recommend running an auto black balance every time you change the ISO, so something that's going to be used that frequently, I feel, should be put on the body. So do you agree with my C100 Mark III wishlist? What are some features that you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe to the channel and follow me on social media, all those links down there below as well, and stay tuned for more videos. Thank you guys so much for watching.